So, really, meditation is not about control, and we're not trying to change anything in our experience either. That also means the sounds are included, right? The sounds outside are included in our awareness because why would they not be? So, in meditation, we're not trying to overly focus on something. It's more like we are taking a step back into ourselves and simply resting. It is much less of a doing and much more of a being state. Simply noticing the breath, noticing your back supporting you, and allowing your attention to kind of relax. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be other than yourself. And being ourselves is actually completely effortless. Noticing the aliveness in the body. Giving the mind a break. The mind is always working a lot, trying to figure out everything. Noticing how your body feels, how your chest feels, if there's any tension in the body somewhere. Simply noticing all this. With each breath, the belly moves, the chest moves, and we're simply noticing that. Without trying to change anything. And the conditioning is to go back into the mind. And it happens on its own, either through memory or through imagination of the future. The mind takes over, we kind of get lost, we get disconnected from the body, from feeling, and we get ungrounded. And so we kind of lose ourselves, we'll leave ourselves. So then the practice becomes noticing when that happens. And sometimes already in the noticing, we come back. We come back to what is, to the present moment, we can say. And then we are more embodied, we are more connected with ourselves, more in touch with everything that we are, instead of living in our heads. So if you like to keep your eyes closed, you're welcome to do that. If you'd like to open your eyes, you're welcome to do that too. So it's completely up to you. Yeah, something about living in our heads, it's incredibly common in our world. And social conditioning is a lot of that, living in our heads. And so when it comes to sacred intimacy, right? Sacred intimacy, this talk and share, or whatever this is called, is about romantic relationships. And specifically about sacred intimacy. It's not about any kind of relationship agreement. It's about sacred intimacy. We're going to go into that more. But for something to be sacred, there is a lot of requirements. One is that I am really in it. And if I'm living up here, I can't do that. Right? For something to be sacred, to honor something fully, I have to be fully here. If I'm living in my mind, all of us do that, then I'm not fully here. So a huge practice for all of us, it's been for me for more than 10 years now, is how can I get more grounded? How can I get more embodied so that I'm not living up here? Because living up here also means living in fear. Because the disconnected mind is a fear-driven mind. But we are not facing the fear, we're getting lost in it. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, we get lost in the fearful mind that is trying to control everything. And of course, we feel then out of control, and then we say, I feel depressed, or I feel anxious, or I feel this, that. Yeah, the more we try to control life, including emotions, we're going to feel out of control. And then we're going to feel reactive. We're going to be frustrated all the time, or blaming others or the world for our suffering all the time, and pointing fingers. We will be at war with life. But sacred intimacy becomes possible when we are not at war. Because if I am at war with life, I will also be at war with my partner. There is no other way. If I am at war energy inside, I will bring that war into my relationship. And I will be doing a lot of this with my partner. Yeah. Power games. I want to be right. I want to show you this, that, right? Listen to me, all of that. So, and that wouldn't be so healthy if we want to create an amazing relationship. Yeah, but we all have these patterns, right? And we can't just get rid of them. We have to address them deeply and with a real willingness to look at it. So I've been looking at these things for almost 20 years now, since my first breakup. And I was in so much pain that I knew I had to look at something very deeply. And so at that time, I asked myself, or I asked the universe, what is love? And I started this adventure. And I've been a very strong meditator for 20 years. And I've done a lot of courses. I've lived in meditation centers in different parts of the world. But I was already doing a degree in psychology when the breakup happened around age 21. So I was already inclined to learn about psychology, relationships, emotions. And then I went into a master's degree in counseling, became a psychotherapist. I am a psychotherapist now. But then through my own healing, everything I've been learning, I started to combine things. I started to combine meditative practice and spirituality with deep healing. Deep healing to me means trauma healing, inner child healing, shadow work. Maybe you are familiar with these terms, maybe not, but you can ask me during this talk what they mean. So what I've been doing for about 10 years now with my clients is exactly the journey that I've been on for 20 years. But I just use different tools and psychology and spirituality together to help people in a holistic way. Because only therapy, well, is good. It's better than nothing. Only spiritual practices, again, it's better than nothing. But when we have a perspective where the two are combined and the two are helping each other as allies, that's really powerful. So to me, they cannot be separated anymore in my life. They become completely integrated. So I see psychology and spirituality like a continuum. They're not separate. They've never been separate. We just have different labels for them in human language. Yeah, but they've never been separated. The mind loves to separate everything. Oh, that's the table, that's the apple, that's the camera, and suddenly we have things. But from life's perspective, there's only life. So the more embodied we become, the more unified everything becomes, almost to such a degree that between here and there is no difference. Well, that's the experience of love. Because love honors the differences, but it sees something beyond that. In some spiritual teachings, this is called oneness. I don't like that word, by the way, but it's called oneness. Yeah. So this talk is about sacred intimacy, and in 75 minutes, we can never talk about everything, because this talk is about love, and love is completely unlimited. And 75 minutes will never be enough, right, to talk about love. And so that's why it's really important for you guys to ask questions. Because when you ask a question, then you are really targeting exactly the reason why you are here. You are going after the kind of answer you need with the question that brought you here. And if you're not aware of what brought you here today, then take a moment to be aware of it. Because there is a reason you are here. It's not because it was raining earlier. There's a deeper reason that brought you here. So take a moment and face that and see it. It's important to own that, because that's your guide. Yeah. Your own reason is your most profound teacher. I'm not a teacher. I talk. If you get something from the talk, you do. If you don't, you don't. But the way to use this time is really for you to become aware of what brought you here. And for each person, that's unique. Yeah. And that's the thing that's important for you. And it's possible to have a conversation about it. You can ask me. Yeah. If you're curious about like an exchange or to see what I think about it. And maybe I'll ask you a question back that can take you deeper into your own inquiry. Yeah. Yeah, so sacred intimacy. What comes to mind for you guys with these words? Both words are pretty big words, and together I think they become very large. Sacred intimacy. I mean, what does that even mean? Any ideas, any thoughts? It could be anything that you want to share.
Like intimacy comes with a feeling of closeness or togetherness.
Yeah.
Whether it's with yourself or someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad that whether it's with yourself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the way I see sacred intimacy is also an internal reality. I can be sacredly intimate with myself. In fact, without that, the other one cannot happen. Yeah, if I'm not creating that consciousness or energy or way of life internally, I cannot have it with another person. Yeah. I think the two are completely the same. Yeah. So to me, sacred intimacy internally means that I am honoring my internal process, thoughts, emotions, feelings, the different parts of ourselves, including the wounded child in us. We all have a wounded child in us. Those of you who have heard about inner child work might be familiar with this term, wounded child. So our wounding begins when we are a child, and then every other wounding afterwards comes on top of the initial wounding. So the wounding keeps getting larger if we're not addressing it. Yeah. That's why suddenly we get triggered in the middle of a conflict, even if the conflict is not that incredibly big, but the reaction can be much bigger than what's really going on. So the question then comes, this reaction, where did that come from? Of course, well, it came from the wounded child in me. Because the wounded child has been accumulating layer after layer after layer after year after year, decade after decade of wounding that is not being addressed, that is not being digested. And that's very normal too, because in our society, we are conditioned to not look at these things. Right? We are conditioned through distracting ourselves. Yeah, everything's based on distraction. Otherwise, a capitalistic system cannot continue. Everything has to be, we have to keep buying. Right? The more distracted we are, the more we buy. That's just how it is. Yeah. So everything is built. Society out there, the economic system, they are not built so that our healing makes sense. In fact, they are mostly preventing our healing. Yeah. If everybody healed, capitalism would collapse tomorrow. It would disappear completely. It's our own suffering and the way we organize our society are the same thing, completely connected. One, the other, completely connected. Yeah, that's why we still have so much war in the world. It's the same war inside. It's just in a political view, it's war between countries. But we all have that war within. So then the question becomes, if we want to live well, how can I end the war inside of me? With my own humanity, right? Suffering means I am at war with my own humanity. Because it's not about things that happen outside. It's about an internal reality that can be addressed. That's the biggest power we have. The power of being able to address what's happening inside. Right? All the spiritual teachers have talked about this through thousands of years. Yeah. And then our perception of the world also changes. So I've been healing very deeply for 20 years, and these days I look at the world and I don't see a big fucking problem that I have to change. I see a big mess that I'm here to love. That's a very different paradigm. There is a teaching, a very profound spiritual teaching that says the world is not to be changed. The world is not a problem to fix. The world is an energy to love. Because the world is sacred. No matter what is happening, there is something sacred about the whole thing. So then it's about us, and it gives us the power. It gives the power back to us, right? This kind of perspective. Otherwise, I would be waiting for all the wars to end. I would be waiting for centuries. Because war has always been here, and it is still here now. But the inner war can end. Yeah, it really can. And I think all of us know exactly what I'm talking about. Because you've had moments in your life where there was no war inside. And you might remember those moments as very beautiful moments, that you were not suffering. Every human being has many, many moments like this, where we're just not suffering. Yeah. And so those moments can become larger. Otherwise, why are we even here in this room talking about a possibility of healing, sacred intimacy, right? Those moments can become larger, and it can become more often than not. It can actually become the way that we live. That's what's been happening for me. Yeah. All that is required is to look at our suffering very honestly. To be honest with ourselves. Yeah, that's very important. If I'm suffering, I have to first accept that. Okay, I am suffering. Yeah. If I'm always frustrated or afraid or worried, whatever, first I need to admit that to myself so that I can address it. Yeah. So far, any comments or questions? Yeah?
So it's about presence, about moving like this.
Yeah.
But I think to say the tendency to escape, like running from ourselves. We can see it, we can feel it, but like I feel I observe it myself that I tend to convert it to something else.
The tendency to escape, yes. I think at least partially it's because we don't know what to do with suffering. I mean, of course we don't know. Nobody taught me. I had to learn myself. Right? In society, it's not like we have the role models everywhere and we are refusing to kind of listen to them, right? So, because we actually don't know what to do with pain. We don't know what to do with suffering. So, so part of it is that. Yeah. Another part of it is it's a conditioned pattern to escape. Of course, we don't want to be in pain. But here's the thing, the more we escape, actually we are only trying to escape because escape is not possible, right? There's only the trying. So the more we try to escape, the more disconnected we become from ourselves. Well, that's another type of suffering. Because then I'm not feeling life fully, right? I'm not fully engaged, I'm not fully here. That creates its own suffering. The feeling that I am too far removed from life. I'm not really feeling it. I'm not a full participant of my own life. I'm standing too far away. Right? That's what happens. We feel isolated. Yeah. So the price of admission into a peaceful living and into a full embodied living and alive living is to turn towards our pain. Turning towards the pain. We don't have to do all our healing in 24 hours, right? It's not like tomorrow we're going to face everything. But in any moment, in every moment, we can turn towards the pain. I think that's huge. It's massive. Because that requires that in that moment I become aware that I was actually turning away from it, right? And then I decide to turn towards the wounded child, towards the fear, towards the shame or guilt or whatever it might be, sadness maybe, loneliness. And then in there, we find ourselves. And there's a sense of homecoming. Yeah. I've never not found what I was looking for in moments of healing. I've always found what I was looking for. Always. No exception. And more. Because I found myself. So we are always looking for ourselves. To feel like I'm coming back home to myself. That feeling. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Yeah.
How to find the right person to have a relationship?
Wow. By coming here. How to find the right person? Well, let's go back to this question after we talk about it a little more. Yeah. So let's do a practice now. And so what brought you here? If anyone would like to share, you can go ahead. Yeah, what brought you here? Yeah?
I'm here to understand myself, the situation that I have,
To understand yourself? Yeah? Yeah.
the situation that I have, like, why
Why what?
Why I don't manifest
Oh.
what the
Yeah, this word is a very interesting word, manifesting. Yeah. What do you mean by that? Manifesting. What does it mean for you? Because we are not in control of life, we have to be aware of that, right? So what is manifesting?
manifesting is wow.
Right?
Think about it.
It's more like being open to love.
Allow that.
Allowing, yeah, being open to love. So that when somebody comes, I can be mature enough in the relationship, right? In dating phase. I can be open to love. Giving and receiving. But that has nothing to do with manifesting anything. It has something to do with being ready for love. And it takes a lot of inner work to be ready for love. Yeah. If the love we are looking for is beautiful love, and not the love of Hollywood, not the love of TV shows and magazines and all the bullshit, then we have to work on ourselves. That's what I found. After that first breakup when I was 21, I got so depressed that I lost the first love of my life. And then through that questioning of life, myself, emotions, everything, I found that very profound, beautiful love is a rare thing. And to be ready for that, I have to be ready. Sacred intimacy inside, right? Because I want sacred intimacy outside. We are actually wanting something very precious. It's not special, but it's very precious. So then the question can become, we can all ask ourselves that. For that, what am I willing to do? Am I willing to create sacred intimacy inside? If the answer is yes, then there's a possibility that I can create that also with somebody. Otherwise, the kind of relationships we go into are codependent, are addictive, or abusive because we are not ready to show up. We are not ready to be our full self in them. Yeah. So doing the inner work, I think, is essential. Yeah. I became a psychotherapist not to make a lot of money, because I found that, just like I needed this, the world needs this. And there isn't a lot of people who are talking about. Sometimes people ask me, why are you talking about sacred intimacy? One of my go-to answers is because no one is. Because nobody is talking about conscious relationship. I think in our society we are so confused and lost about all these things. Yeah. And I've been there. And it's difficult, right? Yeah. And so how to become ready, or let's say more ready, right? How to become more ready for love when the possibility arises that I can be grounded, that I can express myself, that I can be brave in the relationship. Brave to receive love and brave to give love. They are both very important and they are both very scary things. For some people, receiving love is very scary. Giving, it comes naturally to them. They are givers by nature, but to receive is so vulnerable and scary. For some people, it's the other way. They want and they're okay with being loved, but to love feels very dangerous. Right? To make the other person really matter, to invest in them, with time and energy. So, any thoughts or questions about all this? Yeah.
I was curious why codependent relationship is.
What it is?
Yeah, I feel like there
Yeah.
or I feel like in hindsight,
Yeah.
most of my relationships.
Sure. Yeah. I've had a few for sure myself. Yeah. And when we have had a few codependent relationships, we have the beautiful gift of knowing what they are, right? Codependency, we get fused. We lose our sense of self in the relationship. And then everything is about the relationship. To not lose the relationship, we are continuously betraying ourselves. Maybe I'm not seeing some friends anymore. I forgot my hobbies. I forgot who I am. I'm sacrificing, thinking that that's love. It isn't. Sacrificing is not love. Sacrificing is self-betrayal. Why would I betray myself and call it love? Packaging that as love. It's not necessary. It's only the child in us, out of fear of losing the relationship, creates these patterns. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, and I think a lot of relationships have codependent patterns, and the goal is to become aware of them as they're happening. Like, we might never completely leave behind codependency. We might have some residues of that. But in the moment, can I see it happening? Can I be aware of it? Super important. I think profoundly beautiful relationships require that both partners know what codependency is really well. Because only then they can see it as it happens. Does that make sense? Yeah. Including all our emotions. If I don't know my fear really well, I cannot be aware when it takes over my life. If I don't know my anger really well, I cannot wake up in the middle of being aggressive with somebody, for example, or shame, or guilt, or jealousy, whatever different emotions, sadness, grief. Yeah. So to me, that's sacred intimacy, getting in touch with all of it. Did you have a question?
Yep. So you say to heal yourself before to be in a relationship. What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
It's stay alone for a long time. What do you mean?
No, but it's just that for some of us, I've definitely been someone like that. I still am. I have a very strong longing, very, very strong desire from my soul to be with a life partner. I've always been like this. But to not let that be stronger than the need for my own healing. This cannot be more important than my own healing. They need to be equally important. They need to be equally prioritized. So that's what I mean. Yeah, the internal sacred intimacy and the desire for the outside relationship, they need to be made equally important in our lives. Otherwise, we're in big trouble. If I'm always trying to heal and waiting for healing to end, it will never end. To get into a relationship, I'll always be single forever, right? I will never get into a relationship. That's a fear of intimacy. A lot of people live like this, especially people who are into spiritual practice, right? But to be single is no more beautiful than to be partnered, and to be partnered is not necessarily no more beautiful than to be single. But we can use the different gifts of different stages of our lives. In times when I'm single, there are different things that I can work on. For example, if loneliness comes, I can look at that, right? So there are different things to heal, different things to look at. Yeah, when we are single or partnered. But my message is more like we have to always prioritize this internal journey of healing and maturation. Because healing and maturation, to me, they're the same thing. We don't mature unless we heal. Yeah, they're completely the same. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And our culture, our society doesn't know about healing. We don't know about healing. Indigenous tribes knew a lot more about healing. In modern life, we don't know. We have forgotten, we have disconnected from a lot of wisdom through this modern living that we have for maybe the last 200 years, 300 years? Yeah. It's becoming more and more modern every moment, but technology and everything. But we have lost a lot. I think in sacred intimacy, or in sacred intimacy kind of lifestyle, we bring back the wisdom. We bring back the wisdom of ages and back into our lives. Yeah, from the spiritual traditions and healing teachings as well. Yeah. So, for example, grief has always been honored, right? Why we have funerals, why we have ceremony and ritual. Yeah, it's always been a huge part of human culture to honor emotions. But in modern life, we are more and more getting disconnected from the deeper understanding of why all this. Because it's so easy to push tradition away, like, I don't like it. But it doesn't mean there's nothing there. There's nothing beautiful in it. So in modern world, in modern life, what we have done so much is we negated with our, let's say, I'm not religious. Okay, great. Having a scientific worldview is a helpful thing. But within religion, at the core, there is spirituality. How about that? That is still to be taken and integrated into scientific-based living, right? So we don't want to lose the beauty of everything that has come before, our very intelligent intellect that we love to boast, right? But in this modern life, yes, we have iPhones, so what? Yes, we can travel everywhere, so what? We don't want to stay with the loss of so much wisdom from previous times. In our individual lives, we want to bring all of that back into our lives. Yeah. Any thoughts or questions? Sacred intimacy inside, healing, creating sacred intimacy outside, really knowing what codependency is. So when it's happening in our relationship, we can be aware of it. We can be awake to that. And then we can talk about it with our partner. Oh, right now the child in me actually doesn't want you to leave. See, that's the clingy aspect of us. Yeah, let's say my girlfriend wants to leave and do something else, whatever, with some friends. And maybe suddenly I'm having this fear of rejection, abandonment. Oh, where is that coming from? Well, it's coming from my early wounding. If I'm aware of all of that happening in the moment, I can actually share it with her. Not so that she stays, by the way. Not as a way of trying to control, but just out of transparency. Because suddenly she might become aware. Oh, Jane, what happened? You're so quiet. Yeah, something's coming up for me. I'm just noticing that there's a younger part of me that's like, that just doesn't want you to leave right now. And it's so vulnerable, but out of love and honesty, we share. So in sacred intimacy, there's transparency. In sacred intimacy, the way I teach about it, the way I talk about it, is there's a journey of healing together. There is a journey of healing and awakening together in love with our romantic partner. So that our relationship also becomes a safe container in which everything can be talked about. In which I can actually say, I feel afraid right now. Oh, I feel ashamed right now. Or something's coming up for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's say the beautiful thing of ending a relationship that doesn't work is the knowledge you can get from it, and you can have awareness of wounds or shadows that you didn't know were there.
Yeah.
Were very well hidden. Once you have the awareness and you kind of make peace with it and you accept it and you welcome it, how do you move? How do you change that? I heard for rationally, I can understand many things.
Yeah.
But to integrate it and really say, okay, I notice a difference from 1 year ago to today.
I think to really integrate it is what healing is about. Because otherwise it's just intellectual knowledge. Right? Yeah. So healing is huge. That's why the work I do is called somatic therapy. It's not cognitive. It's not just talk therapy. It's somatic therapy, emotion-focused therapy, trauma healing, inner child, the whole thing. So, because change has to happen in the body. Yeah. And the body's wisdom then comes to the mind as real wisdom. Otherwise, it's just accumulated knowledge. Doesn't help. Right?
Which are these practices? Or
which?
Yeah, you said like
somatic therapy. It's literally the healing work. Let's say in a session, I might say to you, let's say you come to the session and you say, Jeng, I had a big fight with my father 3 days ago. I still feel really angry about that. I might say to you, okay, imagine your father's in front of you now. I help you. to express yourself. And what do you want to say to him? And I help you to fully get in touch with your healthy anger. Well, once the energy begins to roll, and then I might say to you, okay, say that one more time, say that more loudly, repeat. Let's say you're saying to him, stop shaming me, stop criticizing me, and I'm coaching you in the moment, in the session. Okay, say that one more time, louder, one more, put your hands up like this, all of that. And 2-3 minutes of this, after that, you start crying. Because underneath the healthy anger was sadness, was grief. And maybe you haven't cried that grief for a long time. Maybe you've been with that for 10 years. And finally, it's cracked open in the session. That's healing. And it's no longer just something you read in a book. I have to forgive my father. Dad, I forgive you. Nothing changed. But through healing, everything changes. Yeah, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's embodied, it's physical, it's the whole thing. And it's a messy process, Yeah. When the anger gets rolling and when the tears come, everything, all the body fluids come. So, but it's in that messiness that transformation happens. I've been experiencing this a lot in my life and also with people I work with. And transformation is so profound. And then you can never forget it. It's now lived. It's in your cells, right? Your body knows how it felt to finally say that. That's change. Because maybe in real life you were never able to confront him, but in the session you did, and you had an experience. And if in real life you choose to speak up, now you've already experienced it. You've already practiced it already in the session. So in real life, it becomes easier now. In fact, sometimes it happens. Sometimes I surprise myself and I do things that I've never done. It's because I've been doing my healing. In real life, when it comes to actually live it, suddenly I do this behavior so differently. I'm like, oh my God, did that really happen? Did I really say that? Yes, I did. Because this is what I've been practicing through my healing. Yeah. So this work never gets boring because there are so many layers and it's so juicy and it brings us closer to our core self. I know in my heart that we are born as who we are. We are born already. I was born as myself. But because of conditioning and trauma and this and that, all the layers, my true self is kind of underneath all this heavy stuff. So through healing, when these things dissolve, it's not like I am someone who I've never been. No, it's more like a homecoming. Oh, okay, now I feel again like myself, but my true self has always been here. It's just more active now. It's more expressed because I'm more in touch with my core. Yeah. So I think living life in an amazing way means that more and more I can be myself fully in every situation. Of course, respecting the context and healthy boundaries and all that, but we are always functioning from our core self. We are not adjusting who we are continuously to please the other person. That's conditioning. That's fear-based, right? Yeah.
So this kind of exercise you can do alone?
Well, to do it alone, you have to really learn how to do it. And you learn that in relationship. I mean, through someone showing you. Yeah. So these days, by the way, I'm a psychotherapist for more than 10 years. I've been in this kind of healing for 20 years. I still have teachers and mentors and my own people that I go to. When I need a session, I still go somewhere. So this is, it's such a men thing to ask what you asked. Because I've asked that as well. Because us men, our conditioning is what? I gotta do it alone, right? The lone wolf. But trying to do it alone is part of suffering, or at least even feeling that we have to do it alone. Is part of our suffering, is part of our conditioning. Because wounding happens in relationship. Healing also happens in relationship. We are not meant to figure it out alone or try to do it alone. Yeah. But the more that you work with someone, the more that you clarify the practices with that person and what works for you, you find that with their guidance. Then in your day-to-day life, there is a lot that you can do on your own. But this doesn't mean that one day you will never need anybody. That's not even something I consider. Because why would I never need anyone? It's not even something I want anymore. Because help is there, support is there. Why would I not take advantage of that, right? And it's actually more fun doing it as a group, let's say like this. We're having a conversation all together. It's more fun. There's nothing fun about trying to sort out the whole thing alone. It's a very lonely place. Yeah. But us men, we have that inclination.
Because normally I used to relate with different persons, but now I realize that I'm more confused than like I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling this desire to be alone for a few time.
Yeah.
Because to have different partners and you try something and you try and to me it's like, I don't want nothing like this.
Yeah.
I
For
just
some
want to
time.
be quiet and
You mean to be single for a while?
yeah.
Yeah, that's usually a good idea. Yeah. Because there's a different type of healing that's possible. The loneliness comes. Oh, will I ever be able to find a partner? The fear comes. And then when you are single, you have the time and energy and space to look at all that.
Mm.
That's amazing. Yeah, and then through that discovery transformation, the next relationship becomes better.
Mm.
Yeah.
And very special those times because all of my life, or I was living with my family, or with friends, or with somebody,
Yeah.
or traveling and being in different house. But now I have my own house,
Nice.
and I'm loving that time to be totally alone.
Yeah.
It's like
To be in your own energy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very healthy.
So I'm feeling this, but the other thing is when you have your own home, it's easy to have somebody in your house and to have sex and to have great time, and it's very easy. And
Yeah.
to me, it's very confused. It's like, I don't want to put this kind of energy here. I want to be just alone and discover different kind of things.
Yes. So then it can be helpful for you to look at, okay, I want to be single, but I find myself that somehow I cannot be, right?
Yeah.
So the more that you look at these patterns, usually with someone's help, right? Because there's only so much we can do alone in terms of healing. Then you resolve something inside. It's through healing that we can stay true to what we want to do, right? I can have a desire, but unconscious stuff will come and sabotage. But that all has to be explored. Otherwise, I will keep on sabotaging myself, right? Yeah. We have unconscious, that's shadow. We have a shadow. Each person, it has a part of themselves that they cannot see. Yeah. So shadow work is a very beautiful thing. Yeah. So if we go back to this question of where to find a partner, right? Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It could be anywhere, right? It could be anywhere. It could be nowhere. But something about sacred intimacy inside, what's been happening to me is, it's like, it doesn't matter, right? There can be this internal peacefulness, even with a desire to have a life partner. But there can be this internal peacefulness of come what may. Like we become so surrendered. We have such a faith in life that if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think when we are in that energy, things happen more effortlessly. And the odds of a new connection turning into a relationship, they get higher. because we are internally in a very relaxed place. We are not looking for so much, we are not craving, there is no hunger about it. Like, there is neither fear for relationship, nor are we afraid of being single. That's the place we want to be at for sacred intimacy to be possible. But that takes a lot of inner work. That takes a lot of healing. Because we have fears on both sides. Fear of intimacy, this relationship, what if they commit to me? What if they want exclusivity? I'm afraid of that. Or a year into it, do we move in together? Do we not? There can be so much fear about all this, right? Well, I'm this age now, what are we going to do? Can we have a family? So some people struggle with that fear. Some people struggle with the fear of being single. But fear is a big part of our lives. And we have to face fear directly. And to me, that's through actual getting in touch with emotion. Yeah, because sacred intimacy is on the other side of this fear. It's literally energetically. Sacred intimacy is a very big energy, is a very relaxed energy, very softened energy. It's the complete opposite of fear, because fear is rigid and tense. Right? When the snail goes into its shell, it's making itself very small. But in sacred intimacy, we are relaxed, open completely. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. But Ubud is not a bad place. Yeah. Ubud is not a bad place to find a partner. Canggu, I don't know. Canggu is for party. But anyway, I'm just joking. I think Bali, generally, it seems to me that, yeah, it's a good place, yeah. Because to be around like-minded people, right? Like-minded people can find each other. It's like finding our tribe. There's something good about that. Yeah. Any other questions, comments so far?
What does shadow work look like?
What it looks like. It looks like connecting with all our emotions. At an embodied level, really that's what it looks like. Because as we connect with all our emotions, for each person, they find that maybe I don't know my sadness. Maybe I'm actually very familiar with all the other emotions. But I recognize through therapy, through guidance, that I don't know my sadness very well. For a lot of people, they don't know their fear or shame. That means that part of them is in their shadow. But the more that we then go into it, dig and explore, and actually recover, right? Recover the shadow element, bring it back to the light of consciousness. Then there's a feeling of integration. Oh, I am more myself. Because a part of our life energy was actually stuck there, being repressed, and we feel disconnected from it, an emotion. Or the wounded child in us is usually in our shadow, because we are often ashamed of our own wounding, or afraid. We are afraid of our own wounding, because the child in us is also the part of us that is vulnerable and sensitive. And we don't want to admit that. We don't want to show it to the world. We stay behind a mask of, maybe the mask can be, I know everything. Sometimes the mask can be, I don't know anything. Please help me. That's a mask too. Yeah. So we are unmasking as we become more authentic, as we connect with everything that we are and bring all the different parts of ourselves into our hearts. Because all these emotions, there's nothing wrong with any emotion. It would be the same thing as saying there's something wrong with the weather. But weather is a pattern, like weather, clouds come and go. The emotions are the same. They come and go, thoughts are the same. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. How could there be anything wrong with an emotion? But there could be something unhealthy with what I'm doing with my emotion. If I take my anger and attack people, I become violent. I'm doing something unhealthy and potentially very hurtful. Yeah, but that's not the fault of anger. I just have to learn how to handle my anger better. Yeah? So there's no such thing as a negative emotion. It's never been. Yeah, these teachings that say negative emotions, positive emotions, they're bullshit. Yeah. It's like saying there's something wrong with the wounded child in us. There's nothing wrong with the child. It's just that as the adult, if I'm not online, there's only the child, and the child will destroy my life. Right? The wounded child, if I'm not here, if I'm not present as the adult Cenk, the wounded child will take over the car of my life and crash into the next wall. And then what happens? And then I say, oh my God, what happened? What did I do? Right? But it's not so much that I did something, it's that I was asleep. As the adult Cenk, I was sleeping. So the child in me took over and destroyed everything. That's what happened. Through always being afraid, or through attacking people, through being aggressive, through unhealthy patterns and unconscious patterns. Yeah. So there's a lot to explore in this internal journey. Yeah, and it's very fascinating. I am beyond the point where I'm no longer looking for a resolution inside, some kind of an end line, cosmic finish line. That whole thing completely disappeared. That also means there is no desperation. We are human. We will always continue to be human. And part of being human is to have emotions and to have thoughts. But we can learn what to do with them, how to work with them, how to be with them. Yeah. Yeah. And there are practices also that you can do. And in fact, I share some of those in my newsletter as free practices. If anyone wants to receive that, those, you can put your email in here. Yeah. There's one practice called adult temper tantrum that's been changing my life. Adult temper tantrum is like a child having a temper tantrum, but we do it as adults. Let's say I go into my living room in a way that I don't hurt myself or break any objects. If I'm angry or frustrated about whatever is happening in my life, I let my body be frustrated. I let myself completely be angry for 2 or 3 minutes. You can put a timer or not. So that means you are actually getting fully in touch with your anger. You know, we talk about acceptance. This is acceptance. Acceptance means to feel. If I'm feeling my emotion fully, going to the core of it, that means I'm no longer repressing it. I'm no longer running away from it. Well, that's acceptance. And through that, we move beyond the emotion, but we go through it. Not through repressing, not through thinking that I should never be angry because that's not the spiritual thing to do. No, you know, it goes against my nice image mask, nice person mask. But we get fully in touch with different energies and emotions. That's how we integrate them into our lives, into our sense of self, and we move beyond them. And maybe after 2-3 minutes of this adult temper tantrum, I become aware that, oh, underneath the anger, there is sadness. Maybe there is fear. Maybe there is jealousy or shame. But for as long as the anger was there, I couldn't see it. Now that the anger has moved in my system, I can see the deeper truth. But for this to happen, we need to move energy, because emotional energy wants to move. If emotional energy gets stuck in us, we feel stuck in our lives. No exception. And we feel stuck in our lives very often. Depression is that. Anxiety is that. Self-sabotage is that, right? Feeling collapsed, feeling small, feeling afraid. All of that is feeling stuck. Yeah. Any thoughts or questions about this kind of stuff? Working with emotions, adult temper tantrum. Yeah.
I kind of want to learn more about the mind, where you stop looking into the past and you stop becoming defined by your past experiences. So I feel like in my journey I've done lots of healing, but there kind of comes a point where it's like, do I need to revisit that anymore? Should I just be present?
Yeah, great question. You know, this thing that we call the past, what is it really? Like, if we really question that, because the more deeply I go, the more I have a feeling that everything is right here, right? Everything's right here. If I get really reactive in a moment of conflict with a friend or girlfriend, that reactivity, we can say it's coming from the past, but it's happening right now. So that means past is here. Okay, so it's not so much that we have to keep digging the past, but if in the moment something is coming up, No digging is necessary. That has to be dealt with. You see? So it's already there. Then it's already showing itself to you as, hey, pay attention to me. Hey, I'm still here. You didn't have to dig that. It came up on its own. And every healthy relationship, the more that people get closer, the more everything will come up. So get ready, right? The more everything comes up. And when everything comes up, that's such a gift of relationship. And then the gift is we can heal together. Yeah. We can witness each other's healing. We can support each other's healing. Yeah, we can be transparent in the moment. Oh my God, I feel like, I feel extremely angry right now. And then you take a breath, maybe you go for a walk, you come back, you explore. Yeah.
Another question. So we met a friend traveling, and she spent some time with us, and she's had some really tough experiences in the past, but she's so defined by it. And every single interaction I have with her, it kind of links back around to it. And I'm very much in a state of like revisit it, work through it, and move forward. What advice do you have to kind of help her set that whole emotion?
Well, one of the best help is to point her towards someone she can work with. Because otherwise, like, I've tried to help a lot of friends, over the years. It never works. Yeah, because there's often resistance. And if there is no resistance, then suddenly they try to use you as their therapist. That's not healthy either. That's going to still drain you. Either maybe you can give her a book about trauma or send an Amazon link. Hey, this popped up on my Instagram and I thought about you, whatever. But it's a good idea to just redirect. You could even say, hey, look, this actually sounds like trauma. Have you looked into working with someone? You can just ask that. That redirection doesn't mean you don't care, but through love, you are trying to support her. Yeah. I think it's so healthy. Like, I would love if more of my friends were working on themselves. That would be amazing. Like, that's the best thing to do. Like, the best thing I can do for all the people in my life is to work on myself. That's literally the best thing I can do. Beyond that, what is there beyond that? Because the more I work on myself, the more mature I become. The more loving and respectful I am. The better friend I can be, for example, right? So if only every person had this awareness, right? Yeah. Because of course we can support each other, but only to a degree. Not more than that. Yeah. Okay. Any comments, questions?
You always talk about this direction of being overwhelmed by the feelings and and also like pushing yourself to go into that. What about the other side when maybe you
it's good not
feel
to
like
push.
you don't? I know the pushing part was wrong. I don't know how to say it.
Okay.
Focusing on or
Okay.
whatever. What about the other side when I often feel like there is an underwhelmed by emotion.
Underwhelmed, yes.
Yeah.
That usually is because you are too far away from them, right? Too removed or disconnected.
I mean, I do this whole opening up and everything, and I feel quite peaceful with.
That's good, actually.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, but because I hear everybody else talking about
Do you feel
too much emotion.
Do you feel disconnected from yourself? That's the question.
Until last year, yes.
Okay.
Last month, I feel a little connected.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And getting grounded, I think, is very important. Getting grounded to me means I'm getting in touch with my body, right? Yeah. So physical exercise, grounding meditation, like what we did in the beginning, those practices are profoundly helpful.
But if I am very connected with myself, should it be? Is it always linked to like strong emotions, or can I still be like, a little underwhelmed?
Well, sometimes emotions are not very strong because huge things are not happening in your life. If a massive thing happens, let's say someone dies, then the emotion will be more intense.
Actually, my grandmother died 3 days ago,
Okay.
and I'm not feeling like I'm suppressing anything, but I'm in peace with it. And I mean, I'm not saying I want the problem,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I would say
my-
keep staying with
maybe
it.
my little problem is I'm a little bit confused that I'm
Confused.
so easily. It confuses me that there's a small question of is something wrong with me that it's so easy.
You know, whenever you're in doubt about this or you're feeling confused, just come back to the body. Just get embodied, either through yoga, right, some physical exercise, or just by staying. You could use, I like journaling a lot, so I journal. But I use journaling not as an intellectual exercise, but as a way of getting into my body. Yeah. And I write what I feel. I have suddenly this two-way relationship with what I have written. I see it, that takes me deeper. I open my eyes, I write another thing, that takes me deeper. So I have this kind of practice. Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah. Have you ever done a silent meditation retreat?
I plan to do that.
How long will you go for?
Sorry?
Is it a 10-day retreat that you're thinking about doing?
I thought about at least a week.
Okay, so during that week, you will for sure feel something intense. For sure. Yeah, because you're not doing anything other than just being there. So things will come to the surface. Yeah, and you might feel the grief of your grandma. Yeah. Were you close with her?
The distance was like in Germany far away.
How about emotionally?
But emotionally, I don't know how to
Okay.
say it. Somehow yes, but we didn't spend so much time because we couldn't see each other very well. Yeah, good relationship.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and it's also
when I heard about it, so my parents called a few years ago.
yeah.
And when hearing it, I was crying for a moment, but it sounds weird maybe, but was more dominant than like, the grief itself. Was like I feel alive. I'm actually happy. I'm crying right now. So
You're happy what?
I was actually more happy to cry than sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Sometimes in the middle of crying, people feel a lot of joy. So happiness is not the opposite of sadness, right? Yeah, joy and happiness, they include everything.
I feel like I feel every time I'm sad, I'm at the same time somehow feeling alive.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Yeah. Did you have something?
I was actually just going to say that the other place of the Boston retreat, junior out.
Oh, you're going there? Yeah, 10-day.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should go or since you
Are you asking me if you should go?
I
I think you should. Yeah, I've done a lot of those courses. Yeah. So we are at time, actually even more. So if you'd like to support my work, and I want this message to go to more people, please follow me on Instagram, and it really helps. So there's a code right here, if you'd like to do that, or if you want to take one, please you can as well. There's a code right here if you want to scan, and that will take you to the Instagram account. If you want to follow that, that would be super, super helpful. So I want the message of sacred intimacy to go to more people. And I've been writing a book that will get published probably in a few months. And yeah, if you're on the newsletter or on Instagram, you'll be able to see that as well. It may or may not be a free download. I haven't decided yet. So I might sell it for like $7 or something, or $9, or I might give it free for people. So if there is any other comment or question, feel free. We have a few more minutes. Otherwise, yeah, we are done. I'm here every Wednesday at 4 to 5:15. Yeah, the Vipassana course is amazing. I've done a lot of 10-day courses, like maybe 20 of them. Yeah, every time, huge openings.
Yeah, that's all our friends do.
Yeah, it's intense, right? It's very intense, but it's really beautiful. There's an encounter with the deep self, who we truly are, in 10 days, for sure. For sure it will happen. Because 10 days is such a long time. Yeah. 10 days of silence and no phone and nothing, right? It's a prison. It's a prison that we admit ourselves. Take me. We willingly go there. The prison of enlightenment. Yeah. It's a pressure cooker. And in there, something very beautiful happens. Yeah. It's a pressure cooker like a very good relationship.
Yeah.
Can bring up the heat of healing and transformation. Yeah.
Not that it's pertinent to the conversation, but I was also considering going to that further, but it's quite expensive. So
Okay.
I'm already in Vipassana.
Well, there's Thailand. Also, a lot of Buddhism in Thailand. Lots of monasteries everywhere. Very accessible. Also. Yeah. Yeah.
Like yesterday.
There's Sri Lanka and India as well, right? Yeah. Nepal. Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Yeah. Thanks for coming. And maybe if you're here next Wednesday again, 4 p.m. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. I'm surprised it's not raining right now. Such a nice thing. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.